So here you go. This is Emily C., my new bestie.
I hate the idea that someone out there hates me. I even hate thinking that Al-Qaeda hates me. I think if they got to know me, they wouldn't hate me.
This stole the show. Emily C. was phenomenal.
There's something you need to know.
What?
You're doing great.
Look at my baby. Here she is. Emily. 10 out of 10. Huge fan.
I see Emily C says 123. I trust her. She's really good.
Listen, Turtle, you gotta watch your language. I'm already live. So you need to follow the FCC guidelines.
He destroyed, left nothing in her path. It was so good.
Hello, everybody. If you are here, then you are my people, because I just scheduled this 5 minutes ago, and that means you have notifications on. And I don't know when I'm going to get over this idea that I'm going to schedule a live show and I'm going to be talking to myself and nobody will be here. But until then, I'm just going to be really, really grateful that we've all found each other and that you guys care about this as much as I do. And you guys are the best. And look at you, just sitting crisscross, ready to go. I just love this. So I just got back from the Moakley Courthouse in Boston, and I have exactly 1 hour until I need to go pick up Carter from school. And I figured this was the perfect time, while it's still fresh in my mind, to tell you guys, hi Kyle, about Matthew Farwell's hearing today. Before I do, Kyle, I laughed so hard in Aiden's Bus Stop Live this morning when you informed him that he had court and he didn't even know. So thank you, Kyle Sharkey, not just for all the FOIAs and all the knowledge and all the your snarky takes lately, but also for being all of our collective, what do you call it, personal assistant, because you keep us organized. Okay, just 1 second. I need to turn the air conditioning on in my house because it's 1,000 degrees on in here, and I just realized that when I sat down to talk to you. Okay, so I went to court this morning at the Moakley Courthouse for Matthew Farwell's motion to suppress. And for anybody who's new here, or just to tell you, this is the second hearing that I've been to for Sandra Birchmore's case. And the last hearing was very emotional. So the last hearing was on, and you're going to very quickly see, if you don't know me already, that I'm not a lawyer and nothing that I'm about to say is the right legal terminology. So I actually have some questions if any of you guys can help me. I learned some new terms today. I feel like I took the next class in my online legal degree. So the first hearing that I went to was the motion to please let me out of jail. Thank you, from Farwell's side. I don't know what that's actually called. Motion to, it is on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, they're please, I have an award, let me out of jail. And I bring that up to say that hearing got very heavy and very emotional because they had to kind of re-explain everything that makes Farwell a very, very bad guy who should stay in jail for the rest of his life and then some. And so I was kind of prepared going into this hearing today that it might be the same kind of heavy, I just kind of emotionally prepared myself to feel like that again. And this one didn't. Motion for release. Thank you. Random YouTube watcher. I'm glad you randomly ended up here because that is exactly what it was called, the motion for release. And this hearing today did not have that same vibe. This was much more kind of the legal side of things, what evidence is going to be allowed, and kind of getting into the nitty gritty of what should and shouldn't be allowed. So that's what we're going to go over today. before we get into that, I just want to show you something really cute. I grabbed a bag on the way out the door because last time I realized I had one bag and I can't bring my cell phone in there. So now I brought 2 bags. And the bag that I grabbed, I don't usually use. And apparently the last time I used it was for the Wilbur show. So then I reached in my bag and I had my note cards from my John DePietro roast of Turtle Boy and my little like autographed Auntie Deb Turtle Boy picture. So that was just cute. Put me in a good mood this morning. Okay. Thank you, Meatball Morrissey Sketty Stain, for the notebook that I used today. And I'm realizing if I write in a notebook that has blank pages, then even when I write messy, I can still read it. So this is better today. The judge in the courtroom today was Judge Casper. And I had heard Judge Casper's name from the like Proctor phone. She had like ruled on if Proctor's phone was going to like get destroyed or whatever. And I had like heard Casper's name a bunch, but I never knew who that was. Check myself because I was picturing like an old white man, like all the rest of them. And today I met Judge Casper for the first time. This is her. I am obsessed with this woman. When I tell you, so Kyle Sharkey has nicknamed me the Velvet Knife. When I tell you this woman is the original Velvet Knife, she has this sweet, like kind of little cute voice. And she is so like no nonsense, like get to the point. She interrupted the attorneys constantly. And every time it was like kind of exactly what she should be doing. And we'll get to it in a second, but her interruptions for Farwell's people were like, why are you like, what are you talking about? And then her interruptions for the government were much more like, oh, and do you want me to do this? Anyways, I'm obsessed with her. I want her on every trial. Karma Dharma said Casper gave Grant's commencement speech. Oh my gosh, I want to see a video of that. I love that. Yeah. Okay, so here's what happened. The attorneys, we're just going to go through what was happening in my brain for the entire time. So the attorneys introduced themselves and they had switched sides for some reason. I don't know. So I was expecting Farwell on this side and then he was on that side. I had a better view of him today. He is ugly on the inside, ugly on the outside, equally ugly in both sides. Like that is a gross, disgusting. It's not the point, but like, ugh. So the attorneys are all introducing themselves. Farwell stands to introduce himself, and the attorney next to him, who's not the one that ends up doing all the talking for him, like started like lovingly rubbing his back. And I was like, literally like chills, cringe up and down my spine. Like it was so gross. And like his jail clothes, like his pants he had a wedgie and like his pants were like falling down and her hand was like really close to the top of his pants. It was just ew. So that just grossed me out from the start. So Judge Casper started and basically was like, the attorney started and she was like, for the most part, I just want you to rely upon the pleading. So basically like, just do what we wrote down. Like, okay, lady, but like, you're supposed to say some things now, I think. I'm not an attorney. So what they were originally discussing was Farwell has 2 phones. His hair actually did look a little bit better than last time. Last time it looked all choppy. This time it was like he kind of got a fresh haircut, but there's nothing you can do to make that man look presentable. So what they were first talking about is Matthew Farwell had an iPhone in 2021 that he had like at the time of Sandra Birchmore's death. And then he got a new phone at some point afterwards. And the search warrant covered both of those phones in addition to his iCloud account. And the defense attorneys were arguing that they can't use what's on the what they found in the 2024 phone because he didn't have that phone at the time. And then this is when I fell in love with Judge Casper, like 1 minute in, because she said something else that like, oh, and you can't use that. And Judge Casper was like, were they omissions or falsehoods? And I was like, ooh, like we're asking questions. Like I wasn't expecting it. And then she just like butted in and was like clarify. And I got very excited. So the other thing that they were arguing was that the agent who collected or reported on the Sandra Birchmore's toxicology report said that the toxicology report came back negative. And the defense attorneys are arguing that that was false because she was on some type of medication that came up. They talked about it at sidebar because like HIPAA or something, I don't know. But she was on some type of like a mental health type medication that apparently like was present in the toxicology report that she was prescribed. And the defense team was not just saying like, we want to include that evidence, but that like everything that the agent said needs to go under review in a Frank's hearing. And I only know Frank's from Delphi, but I don't really know what that means. So if anybody in the chat is smarter than me, then you'll know. So they wanted to like bring in that agent and like ask that agent questions about like why they didn't include that medication in the findings. And Judge Casper asked another question. Oh, so then Judge Casper asked like, okay, so like basically like, why does that matter? And then the defense attorney was talking about how the presence of that medication was to treat mental illness and that it's highly relevant. Yes, thank you. Dizzy OD says that Frank's is a motion to dismiss the search warrant. So that tracks with what I was getting. It's very funny sitting there and like not really knowing what they're talking about and trying to like use context clues to like figure out, like I don't have like Melanie Little explaining it to me in the moment. Okay, so the defense attorney was arguing that the agent said that the test came back negative, then that would have affected the probable cause. And that was that about that for a second. Then she got into like basically saying like the government team, I don't know what to call them, the prosecution, the US, the good guys. So the good guys said basically that like not all of Sandra Birchmore's statements can be like taken at fact. So in their arguments, they were saying like what she said about like her relationship with Farwell to her friends and other family and witnesses and whatever, like that can go towards the case. But like if she said something about her mental health that was like, basically what I was getting is that the US people, the good guys were saying, like, if she made a joke that she was like, oh my God, I had the worst day, I'm going to kill myself, that the defense team can't be like, look, she said, I'm going to kill myself, because that's like missing the context. And then the defense team is saying, well, if you're saying that like some of her statements were true and some of her statements were not true, then why do we get to cherry pick and choose like which one of her statements we use and which ones you don't? So the defense attorney said, the government can't have it both ways. And they told the magistrate, blah, blah, blah. Is the magistrate the judge? I was a little confused about that, but I think when they say magistrate, that means the judge. And I like that word. So, and then she was just kept on going on and on about it. She's like, the government said that they're false or exaggerated, so she can't be trusted. Like, no, we're not doing that. lady in your ill-fitting suit. She was in the same ill-fitting suit as last time, but she had a better bra on, so you didn't see her bra straps or bra lines. So anyways, the judge then interrupted her, thank goodness, because she was going on and on. And the judge was like, but individuals that she knew had expressed that she wouldn't take her own, the defense attorney said, individuals she knew said she wouldn't take her own life, and then the judge interrupted and was like, yeah, but wasn't that in 2017, the one that like you're talking about where you're saying like she said she would have? And then we talked about this last time, but then the defense attorney brought up the damning internet search where Sandra Birchmore searched for what color is a suicide ribbon, sewer slide, however I'm supposed to say it so YouTube doesn't get mad. I went on a long rant about this last time, but like that is not what you Google if that's what you're planning, because that doesn't tell you anything. So she brought up I wrote, damn internet search again. And then even the judge, okay, I just made I was hoping, I like wanted to be able to have the little eyes emoji, but like I have a pen. So I drew the little eyes emoji and the judge was like, yeah, I read that. And it was basically like, what do you want me to do with the fact that she wanted to know what color a ribbon was? Okay. Then the defense attorney made this whole big deal about the fact that like, well, her mental health must have been really bad because she had just started taking this mental health medication and the doctor put her on it while she was pregnant. And if the doctor was going to put her on it while she was pregnant, then like things must have been really bad. And like, number one, no, like this is not the like onset of medicine in America. Like we now have a very good understanding of like safe medications that people can take while pregnant. And sometimes it's like more dangerous to go off medication when you're pregnant. And there's so much more nuance to that than just saying like, oh, well, if she was on medication, then things must have been really bad. Then she said, and the issue is that this was one like part where I was like, were we about to take a turn like we did last time into the like more nitty gritty? She was like, the issue was that Sandra Birchmore had struggled with her mental health long before she came into contact with Farwell. Number one, she met that bad word man when she was 12. So like long before, no, don't do that. Number two, I would blame any issues that she might have been struggling with her mental health on that man. Number three, she didn't take her own life, so none of this matters. And then I actually remembered this part really pissed me off. Then she said, the defense attorney said, suicide is often a consequence of depression. No, don't say that. Don't do that. No, it's not. No, not often. Have some compassion, like be a real human. Like you can defend your client and also like be a normal human that like understands humans. Anyways. Then the judge kind of brought it back to like where I was like, okay, we're not going to get this. I'm not going to get this annoyed at her right now. And the judge was like, the standard is probable cause. And basically whatever I wrote here, she was basically saying, even if I didn't take any of Sandra Birchmore's statements, there was still probable cause from the video and from the communications that we have of her and Farwell. And I was like, I literally wrote, I love this judge. Like, yeah, who cares? You could throw out 75% of the evidence that you've collected so far, and you still have the strongest case against this terrible man. You can throw out everything except for the one snippet of him leaving the apartment and the timestamp of when he left her apartment, and literally throw out everything else, and I will say he was guilty. So miss me with the whole like, oh, well, we have to throw out the whole entire search warrant and start all the way over because like you got a phone that he didn't have when he took her life. Then Judge Casper said a word that I hadn't heard before and didn't know how to spell, and now I can't even read it. Oh, damn it. Eviscerate. It wasn't eviscerates, but it was like fancier than eviscerates. If anybody knows what word I'm trying to say, because she said, I'm not clear how this word that starts with an E, probable cause. And I liked the word. Then I wrote Judge Sweet Voice, said that she had questions about Sandra's statements about her relationship with Farwell. And then the defense attorney did the other gross things. No, the judge is amazing. She said, oh, well, at that time, it elucidates. Was that it? I don't think so. It had a V in it. And I know elucidates from Babalessi and from Fervent, really. Ready? So then the defense attorney said, well, at the time of Sandra Birchmore's death, Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore were in a consensual adult relationship. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. You can't be in a consensual adult relationship with a man who started grooming you when you were 12 and started sexually abusing you when you were 15. It just doesn't exist. Like if I jump off the top of my roof, I can't fly, even if it looks like I'm flying for a second, because then I fall to the ground and it's not flying. Even if for 1 second it might have looked like it. Even if for 1 second it might have looked like Sandra Birchmore was in a consensual adult relationship because she might have communicated with him in a way that somebody in a consensual adult relationship would have, it's not possible because of everything he did leading up to that. It's not any of those words. I'll find out what the word was. So yeah, that annoyed me. And what do you mean they were in a consensual adult relationship? He was married. Thank you, Jessica. Yes, this word. Nope, not that word. No, what was it? Maybe it was that. I'm going to look it up and it's going to be like not even close to this. Okay. No, he was married. What do you, he was in a consensual affair? Is that a thing? Is that like, these are not terms that like we have in society. Like if you're married, you're not in also a consensual relationship, I guess, unless that's agreed upon on this end. And it doesn't sound like it was because the wife wasn't there. I don't think. I don't know what she looks like, but there was nobody that looked like they were like making eye contact. I wrote something that looks like eviscerates, but it wasn't that. Maybe it was. I don't know. This just happened. Why can't I remember? There was a lot going on. Okay, then they went back to talking about the medication again. And she said, well, this medication becomes, maybe it was eviscerate, but I know that word. So it wasn't that. It was a new word to me. She said, this medication comes with a slur slide warning, like on the label. Okay. Like how many medications do you guys take that have like a crazy amount of warnings on them? That doesn't mean that that's going to happen. And when it didn't happen, you can't blame the medicine bottle. They do that so you don't sue them. You're a lawyer. You know that. Come on. And she basically said, well, that medication appeared on the talk screen, but it was not communicated to the magistrate. Like maybe because it didn't have an impact on her state of mind at the time. I don't know. I don't know why the agent should have just put it on there, but whatever. And then the judge said, yeah, you didn't answer my question. And then she was asking about the four corners of the affidavit. She talked about that a lot. I have no idea what that means. She talked about the four corners of the search warrant, the four corners of the affidavit. I don't know what those four corners are. I'm sure that they actually mean something. I don't know what. So then the judge was like, this is like, I was already in love. And then I was like, oh, this is true love. She was like, so let's assume that I don't agree with that. How does the inclusion of this history undermine direct and circumstantial evidence? Thank you. I love you. Like a judge that like pushes back, asks the right questions. Like I thought I wasn't in Massachusetts for a second. It was a beautiful thing. And then the defense attorney was like, because it undermines that it was a homicide. No, it doesn't. Oh, like, any homicide that's committed on somebody that is on any type of medication that has a label with a warning, like they couldn't have been. Come on, let's be real. Then the judge interrupted and said something that I didn't write down. And then they brought up, let's bring it back to good old Norfolk County and talk about how the OCME, they said that the OCME undercuts the opinion of the government. And she said, the government is trying to prove something different from the OCME. And it's a false and misleading opinion. Okay. I think that word is going to come up again. I think I wrote it down twice. I will, to compliment this woman who was saying a whole bunch of nonsense, she was very impressive in the way that she had, and I know this is probably just like what lawyers do, but like I thought it was cool because I don't see it a lot, but she had an answer for everything. And so at this point, the judge asked, had the agent provided magistrate text about blah, blah, blah ideation? Like, would that have remedied this problem? And then this woman busted out like 3 different case law, and she was talking about US versus Morris and this and that. And I mean, I know that's probably just like, that's her job, but I thought it was like cool to see somebody like it's cool to see people who are good at their job, like be in their element. So even though she was saying a whole bunch of things that I didn't agree with, this moment was cool. She told a whole thing about the case law, about something that happened in Maine. And then I started daydreaming because I couldn't really follow all of that. And I was looking around, and I wrote down there were 2 people that were sitting in like the front row that looked kind of like out of place, like on Farwell's side. And I was like, oh, are those like his friends? Like, who are those people? And then I was like staring at them for a while. Turns out in a couple minutes, spoiler alert, those are his like handlers. One was like a US Marshal, and one was like a jail person who had to like supervise him. So he doesn't have friends there. I will find out what the word is, I promise. I just can't, if I get stuck on it now, I'm never going to get through any of this. Then she went on and on about the case law, and the judge then said, and I understand. I liked that. Then they asked about the nexus, which was another word that I liked. I know that's probably maybe one of the 4 corners. I don't know. The judge was very fixated on the idea that they got Farwell's phone, the 2024 phone. She kept, that was the one thing that it felt like she might be like kind of leaning their way on. So she asked, so you're telling me that the device didn't exist on the date of Birchmore's death? And then she was asking, so like that phone wasn't backed up to the iCloud at that time. And that was like kind of where it felt like she was sympathetic to them. Then I wrote, the judge sounds measured and sees Farwell as a monster. The lawyer sounds like a petulant child, but she's prepared and has an answer for everything. Then the defense attorney started talking about how this was just a fishing expedition, which is like, I feel like a fishing expedition is like every lawyer's favorite. Like, they're just fishing. Then we weren't both accounts attached. And then they got onto this. Okay. Then they started talking about, well, even when they looked at that phone, the 2024 phone and the 2021 phone, like he didn't have any like CSAM on it. And okay, Yeah, because he's kind of busy. He has a whole wife and a whole family, and he's grooming young girls. I don't think he has time for also like enjoying himself on his phone. He doesn't have. He's spread too thin already. That doesn't tell me anything. No. Also, like maybe. Yeah. Anyways. Then the good guys on this side were like, I wrote down, they were like making eyes at each other, like kind of like they looked like annoyed. And I liked that. Then the defense attorney said, and Farwell's Facebook didn't show any Sandra's Facebook didn't show any relationship with Farwell. And it's like, what did you want? You wanted them to put like relationship status. Like, it's complicated with Matthew. What do you mean it's not? Of course, her Facebook's not going to show a relationship. I know married couples that's Facebook don't show a relationship. You think he's going to show a relationship with the child he groomed that he's stepping out on his wife with? Like, what are we talking about? Then the defense attorney just randomly started whining about the fact that it said the word may in the good guys report 123 times and was basically using that to argue that like they don't know for sure. It just like may have. Like it may have been a homicide. Like, okay, yeah, I guess that's what the jury's going to decide. I don't know why 123 times freaked you out so much. The judge asked like how far, the defense attorney said like, well, then how far back and forward can the government go to get data? I don't know. As far as, and I get there is like a nuanced argument here where it's like, we good peoples of the world don't want to like concede so much power to the government where they can just like, if you get pulled over, they can't suddenly have every single, or if you're a reporter, let's use this example. If you are arrested for witness intimidation, that they can't just take every single device that you've ever owned in your entire life to go like fishing. So I do get that. And I do think that was like an important kind of like nuance to this. Yeah, they went back 13 years with Proctor. I guess that's different because he's not like arrested. But I was thinking like, and they didn't bring this argument up. So the fact that I was thinking it probably means that like there's a legal reason why they don't do this. I think this is the definition of like a fishing expedition. But I was thinking like, yeah, you have your phone now. You worked with a bunch of also really bad guys who did a lot of really bad things to Sandra Birchmore. Like getting the data from your new phone could very well like show conversations that you were having with additional people that like knew about what happened or that were encouraging Farwell. I don't know, like it could just reveal more bad guys. And then I started writing Farwell as MF, and then I realized that was like mother effer, and I liked that. So now he's just MFer from now on in my notes. The judge asked about if that goes to consciousness of guilt, basically being like, if we find some things in the 2024 phone that might like reveal like consciousness of guilt. And then the defense attorney said, dark humor is not evidence of a crime. Right. Like I get that 1,000%. I've been trying to explain that to like all the people that are mad at me on Twitter all the time for making like parody videos of like a serious situation. I get that 1,000%. However, it wasn't exigent. I'm going to find the word. But thank you guys for trying. However, then she was saying like memes and GIFs are not criminal. Yeah, we all know that. We are all chronically online. But like, it is different when a person who did a bad thing is making jokes about maybe that bad thing. Like that's not dark humor. That's like confessing through like sarcasm. I don't know. We didn't get to see what it actually was, but like, I want to know now, who was he sending these like jokes to? Who was he sending these memes to? And if they're that much like dark humor, if it was to somebody else who also was involved in, I don't know what word I'm allowed to say, with Sandra, that seems like it is relevant. The defense attorney said they didn't, so basically like they didn't find anything that might be in the cloud. And then she made a joke and was like their head was in the clouds. And I was like, you don't do the humor very well, do you, lady? Okay. To the extent the government alleges SB and MF had an atypical sexual relationship. Oh, then she said, so this part she was talking about like their atypical, they didn't have an atypical sexual relationship, basically saying like they had a normal relationship. Okay, no. And that she basically said something like, maybe if the government was alleging that she had passed away during a sexual act, then this would apply. And I was like, what are we doing, lady? Like, why don't you concede the rest of your time now? Then they had a sidebar and they turned on the sleep machine music. And now this is my random notes from looking around. I know this is the part you guys are all here for. Not. I wrote down there was the cutest little court reporter, and she had a little keyboard that looked like what like our grandparents or great grandparents learned how to like type shorthand on. There was like not enough keys like to type. It wasn't like a full keyboard. It was just like a couple of them. She probably knows some like fancy code language. And then she was trying to like get her little keyboard over to this side. She kept getting tangled in all the wires. It was very cute. At the beginning of the sidebar, Farwell was sitting just where he was, but he got like a football coach headset. And then I wrote down, didn't Karen Reed want one of those? And then Bev said no, but Matthew Farwell got one. So I love how stuck on this you guys are. Okay, we're going back to the E word for a second. Hold on. Like, I feel like it might have been eviscerates because that makes sense in context, but it wasn't that because I know that word. Now I can't even find it. I'm not clear on how this eviscerates probable cause, but it's not, and it's not eviscerates, and it's not I don't know, you guys. I'm not clear how this, maybe it could start with an I. Yes. I don't know. I'm sorry that I'm hurting your brain as much as mine. Okay. Back to our break. Yeah, it could be with an A too. Well, I'll get it, I promise. Then I wrote down the sidebar is funny how close they all get together. It's like usually in the courtroom, you're on like opposite sides. You guys are like, yeah. What's this word mean? Eviscerates. It's like that, but it's not that. It's like that. It's something like that. I don't know. It's not eviscerates though. It's not any of these. I don't know. She's basically saying that whatever their argument was, this doesn't get rid of probable cause, a word that means eviscerates, but it's not that. And yeah, it could just start with a V. I don't know, you guys. Okay. I wrote down that the sidebar was funny how close they all get because like here we're like enemies and now suddenly we're like BFF. They're all like so close to each other. And then like I kind of feel like they should have just like an AOL like instant messenger system instead where they don't have to all be like that close to each other because It's kind of weird. Then they brought Farwell up to the huddle, and like this, I like locked in. I was like, what is happening? He's so big, you guys, and he's lost weight in jail. You can tell he has that kind of body where it's like, you look like you used to be bigger. And he's still just like huge. He's a full head taller than everybody else in the huddle. And he had just like, he looked like he was intentionally trying to appear like not a big, bad, scary person. So he had his arms crossed, and he had like his head kind of tilted down, and he was like slouched over, like kind of trying to make himself smaller. And he was still so big. And then like he was just like right there in the huddle with them. It's like, I wouldn't want to get that close to him. And that's when I found out that those two people were the jail. Those two people like weren't his friends, because one of them like chaperoned him up to the huddle. And then I was looking at her, and she looked like she would be like a free Karen Reed person. She had that, like, she looked cool. I liked her. Farwell's attorney was talking, and I wrote, Judge Casper's face looks like WTF. And then I wrote, this room needs a clock. And then I found out the room had a clock. It was just behind me. Then I started doodling the designs on the ceiling. And then I wrote, And then I wrote, the sound machine might put me to sleep, wrap it up. And then 2 minutes later, I looked over and I was like, the sound machine put that lady to sleep. And there was a lady like half asleep over on the side. Okay. After the sidebar, then it was the good guy's turn. And last time they had, I think like this one, they kind of knew where the judge was going to be leaning. So they didn't go as like all in. Like last time they were so, I felt like they like stood up for Sandra in a really cool way. And this was just more kind of like, no, that this is wrong because X, Y, and Z legal things. She did say, she said, like, they're accusing us of hypocrisy for crediting Sandra Birchmore for some statements and not others. But basically, like, it was confirmed by Farwell that he began graping Miss Birchmore when she was 15. So, like, none of the nonsense that you guys are talking about even matter. Eventuate, is that a word? I'll find it, you guys, I promise. The good guys said that they were cherry picking texts and they were using them without context. And then they provided a new exhibit M through O, for more context about what Sandra Birchmore was saying and doing at the time. So this is like, they brought up last time that when she Googled that ribbon color, she had been looking on they did a forensic examination of her computer, and they found out she had been looking at Facebook at that time. And she was scrolling Facebook, and she scrolled back a picture that her friend had posted with those whatever color ribbons. And then she was Googling that to see if that's what this friend's picture meant. So it's like, with that context, the search already didn't mean that like you were going to take your own life. Ridiculous to begin with. But then with that context, it's like, yeah, do you know how many things I Google that if you just looked at it out of context, like you'd be like, oh my God, this person is crazy. And then you'd be like, oh, she was watching a YouTube show about Brian Walsh. Like, it's context matters with these things. So they provided the context, so that was good. She basically said that the defense attorney is wrong. Then they talked about the four corners of the search warrant again. And then I started thinking about that game that I used to play in elementary school where there was four corners and you had to like push the ball to get people out. And then I was thinking about the sound that ball made. And then I was thinking about how you used to make up rules in the middle of that game. And then I was wondering what those rules were. And then I realized I wasn't paying attention at all. And I tuned back in. So I missed some stuff. Then they started talking about the Frank's red hot sauce. No, they started talking about Frank's something. And this was my favorite. Yeah, Foursquare. This was my favorite line. Are you guys ready? Okay. She said, the defense team's argument boils down to the OCME's ruling that Sandra took her own life and that negates a homicide. However, what's missing in that is the problematic and not wholesome investigation done by the state. They're talking about you, Michael Morrissey, Greg Connor, and everybody else in the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. Problematic and not wholesome. Love it. And then she said, like, they're accusing us of X, Y, and Z. And then she said, the government is not required to state facts in the best light for the defendant. And I was like, yeah, like, what are we? Of course. She said, we're supposed to be objective. Then she was talking about position and nexus, and I didn't really know what that meant. Then she said that the defense team made 4 arguments about the iCloud and the 2024 phone, and that she was going to respond to all 4 of them. I was taking like really detailed notes in that moment, and I only got 3 of them. So I don't know what the 4th one was. Yeah, this guy too. Actually, I thought of Guarino in this moment, because number 3 was the iCloud contained no communications when the feds got it. And I was like, well, what's the chain of custody? And were they deleted? Basically, the argument that they were making was that when you get, even if you have a new phone, there are things that are like backed up from your old phone on the iCloud that can be like transferred to your new phone. And even if you don't have like syncing of your like texts on there, or you don't have like the backup turned on, you can still have some of that like crossover with the 2021 phone. So basically, like, we should be able to have both those phones. Clear from statement. Doesn't even if this is when my handwriting every time starts getting illegible. Oh, that was what I just said about the transferring. Evidence related to crime, even though not possessed until after. Yeah, so they're just because you didn't have your phone at the time of the crime, like, there are other ways that there could still be evidence of your crime on your new phone. I think that's like, right? Like, you could be Googling yourself a whole bunch of times. You could be Googling your name and John O'Keefe autopsy. Or just your name plus John O'Keefe. And that would be incriminating. She said, oh, the government included like a whole manual, pages 6 through 10, about how the iCloud works. I bet that's riveting reading right there. The good guy said the fact that he had interest in strangulation and DV is evidence. That grossed me out. Oops, sorry. That was probably annoying. Oh, then I wrote down that the attorney who was talking had an interesting hair color, because she had her hair like dyed blonde at the top, but like brown at the bottom. But it was like 2 panels. It wasn't blended. And I was wondering, like, is that a new style, or was that by a mistake? I didn't love it. Ew. Okay. Then Farwell started whispering to the attorney next to him who had been rubbing his back earlier. And they were like, this wasn't like whispering, like, oh, let me tell you like a quick something I want you to like relay to the other attorney. Like, they were like whispering sweet nothings. Like, his nose was like in her ear. And it was really grossing me out. And they were talking for a long time. Then I actually think I think I pieced together what he said in a second, but hold on. the judge kept asking something about like the way that the law, I thought this was interesting. So like Judge Casper was asking like, did you need to show probable cause? And I was like, aren't you the one who's supposed to like know that? But I guess this is like how it works. I don't know. And then that attorney was like, no, but we did. And I was like, ooh, burn. Then they talked about the nexus and this part I thought was important. So I remember a little while ago, Andrea Burkhart did a really great explanation about basically why like the Commonwealth is really like ruin, like could be screwing this all up if it's not proven that like when the feds took this case over, it's because, or like prosecuted this case, it's under the idea that like Farwell took Sandra's life because she was a witness to something, and it's like in that witness statute. So they're not just prosecuting it as like a homicide. And this is when they started talking about like connecting the dots between obstruction and like Sandra being a witness. And then I wrote, she named every sick thing that MFR ever did and connected those dots between homicide and obstruction, and basically brought up like how angry he got when Sandra's friend had called the Stoughton Police Department, and that was like when everything really started unraveling, and it proved that like he wanted to end her life to silence her. And then I wrote, Casper was really stuck on that he didn't get the phone until after the murder, because then she kept on asking about the year that he got the phone. And then there was a rebuttal, and my alarm's about to go off, and that's my 10-minute warning. So I don't want it to be really loud in your guys' ears. So hold on. They had an in-person conversation, not phone. I don't know what that means. Online coercion. Same phone. Oh, then they were trying the good guy said, like, even though he got a new phone, that's my 10-minute warning. Even though he got a new phone, he still had the same phone number, and that like kind of meant that it still fell under the same umbrella. And then the defense attorney was like, 12 years after a crime, just because you live in the same house doesn't mean that it can be searched for evidence. And I was like, I actually think that's like exactly what happens. Like, didn't they just search that guy's mom's house in like California? Like, I think that is a lot. I think that happens. So I didn't quite follow that. Then she said something about that he didn't have like interest in children, and like at that point she was whispering to the gross attorney in the middle. So that's what I think that Farwell had like whispered about, was like basically saying like, say that I like don't have like interest in children. And that was just weird, because like, receipts, sir. And then this was the end. And when Judge Casper was wrapping it up, it was like, I fell in love with her. I realized it was true love. And then this was like you're my soulmate, Judge, because she was like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to like write up my rulings on all of these. But because it's getting close to the trial date, I do want to let you know that like basically I'm going to deny the Franks argument. And how cool. And she was like, I'm going to express it more in writing, but I did just want to like let you guys know that right now. And like, a judge that like cares about the attorney's time, who makes the right decision, who makes it on the spot, doesn't have to go like dilly-dally in her chambers. Like, this Judge Casper is boss. I like everything about her. That does make me wonder about, I don't think they need this phone situation anyways. I think you have a case against Farwell, like no matter what, but it does make me think like maybe she was going to rule a different way in the phone 2024 phone. And then that was that. And then I got to see Mizzy and Sandra Birchmore's family members for a couple minutes. And then I raced home as fast as I could to do this with you guys. And now that's that. Any questions? That was a lot of words that just came out of my mouth. I really appreciate you guys being as invested. I appreciate you. Like, I think that this is the kind of case that, number one, should never have gotten to the feds in the first place, because it should have been thoroughly investigated. Like, this was an easy one. The Massachusetts State Police want things to be like cut and dry and easy peasy. Hello. The only problem with you guys is that when you have the easy peasiest case in front of you with every single, like this is like when you give a toddler, like the cow goes in the outline of the cow and the horse goes in the outline of the horse. Like this, you have all the pieces and they're very easy to put together. And in the one case of all the ones that they got that was really cut and dry, Proctor's words, they drop the ball. They don't even know what to do with that. They are like, but that's my friend. I don't want to. I don't. And then they just did nothing. And that's why we need to elect Adam Deitch. And that's why Greg Connor shouldn't be able to get away with going on interviews and being like, yeah, I don't really know anything about Sandra Birchmore's case because like it wasn't my case. Yeah, we know it wasn't your case, sir, because it wasn't any of your guys' case in there because you didn't make it your case. It's also not my case. And I know a bunch of things about it and some words that I don't know. If Connor was involved, he probably would have known what that word was. It's about all he has on me. But that was that. And it makes me happy to know that there is a little kind of like safety net in our society, that even when we have a really bad DA's office that is corrupt and protecting really, really, really terrible people, there is still like a safety net that will catch him and do what the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office was too scared to do. And it makes me wonder why they felt so comfortable covering up for such an ugly, disgusting, despicable human. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to say goodbye now, and I'm going to like slow down my brain, and I'm going to think back on what that word was. And I'm really going to apologize if the word was actually like elaborate or something easy, and that I got everybody all worked up about it for nothing. But I will let you guys know when I know what it was. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. I will see you on Thursday at 11. Samantha Beningo is going to come and chit chat with me about statement analysis. So I will see you then.
If you need a place to breathe, some stress to just relieve, then come watch Emily C, where we keep it drama free. We want justice for John O'Keefe, Aiden and Kelsey, waved bye bye to Morrissey. Let's clean up Norfolk County. Emily C, the one we need, reading sidebars with Corey, writing Hank diaries, giving the people what they need. It's my pleasure to entertain, keeping you laughing makes my day. Positivity all the way. Why don't we tell Satan not today? And now it's time to say goodbye. But before we say goodnight, just keep one thing in mind. Please like, comment, subscribe.